project, the West Coast Causey Association decided to carry on and with what we've called Causey 2, which is actually to make a permanent transformation of the space. So that's what this project, and that's what today is all about, getting your ideas for what that space should be. And we have Kirsty Henderson here from the Living Streets, and she'll tell you a bit about Living Streets shortly. This morning we're going to be looking at the present, then looking back in time at the old images and maps, and then in the afternoon is the sort of bit where you have a chance to have your thoughts about what the space should become in the future.
Living Streets, we're the national charity which stands up for the rights of pedestrians. I'm very much about working with local people, particularly in deprived areas around Scotland, to try and enable them to influence streets and public spaces so they can be made better for walking in. For too long, for decades now, our streets have been built around the assumption that most people own cars and built very much around traffic concerns and making it easy for cars to get to one place to the other. We believe very much that streets are more than transport corridors, are more than places for cars, they're places for people. The places you can meet, shop, play, exercise, work and live. They're crucial to the quality of life in communities and the well-being of what goes on in our neighbourhoods as well.
I've lived in Edinburgh for quite a long time, and it just seems like it's a bit of a shame that it's kind of left and not developed. There's obviously a lot of history here, but it's not really expressed in any way, and people walk by and don't really notice anything.
It's just the real eyesore in the area. It's the island with all the roundabout cones and the signs and the markings in the road. It looks really ugly. I like the way that you can glimpse bits of greenness. You see Arthur's Seat, you can see in the greenness of the garden through this railing, and you can see the garden on the house on the other side here, and I think we should have some more greenness in this area here as well.
I think it's a very bleak and attractive space at the present time.
When I first came here, stood on the space, it was the noise of the traffic that I was aware of most, first of all. There doesn't seem to be much connectedness physically to this space. However, it's got potential, definitely. It attracts the light as well, which is good. It's quite shaded along that street though, there, but that street's really interesting because they've got some kind of antique shops and an old coin shop as well, so that's quite got a bit of character down there as well.
It's something like, I've walked past this traffic island millions of times before, and I've sort of been busy kind of looking at the cars and trying to work my way across the road, and I guess it's just nice to sort of stand here and sort of realise it actually is quite a pretty space.
Well, I lived in West Cross Causeway for a couple of years, so I'm kind of quite familiar with the space, but it always strikes me how pointless the traffic island is. It's very small in comparison to everything that's going on around here, and also the wasted space really.
My initial impression would be I would want to do something which would just make somebody just stop and pause and maybe take note of some of these features around.
It's a lot more complex than I thought it was. We've got the churches and the scale of the buildings and things. It's quite nice. It's nice to finally stop and really see the space.
At the moment, as you can see, it's sort of totally barren as far as both residents and visitors to the area are concerned. So I'd like to see it developed into a place that would be a focal point for people to use.
And without it ever being followed through, I think that's why we're in the position we're in just now.
I think if it was more of a space of arrival where you can really sit and enjoy the space, I think it would really change it.
Like putting the hedge around it that had holes in it. And that you were actually inside something, and you maybe had like picture windows or something out onto particular points of interest. There's a little.
I guess the other thing that was interesting was the fact it's one of the oldest sort of streets, and that isn't in Edinburgh. You know, that isn't really celebrated or known in any way.
How you can retain that oldie worldy quaintness, which works really well in this narrow part, and then as it opens up into what could be a much more, if you were redesigning it, contemporary space.
Sticking with the idea of the kind of green space, and then trying to keep this varied as well. You know, starting to use curves maybe.
So if you have plants which are looked after, people often feel much more comfortable about an area, and that's not a very expensive way of doing a little bit.
Something to take away from the noise as well, just try to, because it's quite a noisy, so something to do with the acoustics of the place, maybe drawing away from the noise of the traffic.
I personally would quite like it to be a place to stop and reflect and appreciate what's there.
So it shouldn't necessarily be the one place that you go to every time. You should like interrupt your journey to go out of your way to go there just once, maybe in a couple of months, just to really appreciate something new. So it's maybe a constantly changing space or something that can have an event on that pulls your attention.
And it would be accessible for everyone. Like an accessible timeline.
That looked really charming.
The timeline was a textured timeline. People with visual impairments, because they tend to get lost in the area. And I can't access the area at all with my scooter. And just flattening the area down and making it accessible for everyone.
I think we were quite surprised to find out the church is much older than the other one, yet it's used for university storage now. And it's such a waste because it's got such a beautiful position, and it's a shame to forget about it within the space on the other side of this busy road.
A really big problem in Nicholson Square, which has just been upgraded, with it being taken over by people who are very antisocial.
It needs to be seats, it could just be big stones that you can sit on, or, you know,
okay,
be
big
a shelter.
stones would be fine.
What we kind of were thinking is that we'd like to take the theme of the cobbles, but at the moment, like Carolyn's a bit worried, for example, that the cobbles are quite inaccessible, so it's quite hard to walk over them, particularly if you've got a disability. So we're thinking of making a surface that maybe sort of gives the impression of cobbles, but is actually smooth and accessible, and extending that out so beyond just West side, but out onto the street here, Blacoo Street, so it becomes, it makes the area a bit more coherent.
We thought there's never been a interesting water feature in Edinburgh, and I had some slight doubts about having it this far out to the centre of town, but why not?
Some of the things we're thinking about is making it a greener space, also having a historical connection with the goose sculptures, if you want to put it that way, as part of it.
We thought the area should be green, should have some focal points, so we're just now trying to picture frame the focal points in some way or other, that it should be better lit, and we're leading some light through West Cross Causeway onto Nicholson Street, again making picture frames to frame Arthur Seat's view in the distance.
Edinburgh's got a great hustle and bustle about it, but that little corner is very, very quiet, so is there something you could do, like some sort of sonic graffiti that would enliven it?
Just being able to get access into a lot of these public, well, they've been private parks, haven't they? So